Hi, you guys. Sarah Pacaro here. Today's video is going to be about how to heal from childhood emotional neglect, some common advice that's out there. And then I'm going to share with you why following this type of advice oftentimes leaves you feeling worse and is not supportive or conducive to your real and true journey to healing. There's so much advice out there, and advice is often given by people who are trying to help, right? They're trying to help, they're trying to support, and trying to just share with you how to get better. But when you're really dealing with something this complex, there are studies that show that there are links between childhood emotional neglect and Cptsd because it's complex. It's not just a trauma from one specific event. It's a series of events. And in fact, it's not what happened to you, but it's what didn't happen that left almost holes in your childhood. If you imagine like a piece of Swiss cheese, and I know this is a weird analogy, but if you imagine like a piece of cheese, right, and there are no holes, it's full, it's complete, but Swiss cheese has holes in it. So there are pieces missing. It's kind of like that. When you experience childhood emotional neglect, part of you is there, but there are holes, it feels like, in you. There are missing pieces. And some common advice that's given to heal from this type of experience or this type of trauma, which often leads to you being involved in narcissistic relationships or emotionally unavailable or emotionally traumatic relationships in adulthood, because we seek what's familiar and we avoid what's unfamiliar. So if you were raised in an environment or by caregivers who we're not emotionally available, we're not emotionally supportive. When you become an adult, you seek relationships that have that same trait, that have that same tendency, that have that same familiarity, because even though it doesn't feel good at a certain extent or at a certain point, it feels familiar. And familiarity is comforting. So it becomes comfortable, it becomes your go-to, it becomes something that you're energetically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually attracted to. Like that's where your vibration is. So even though it's an unstable, unhealthy relationship, it is what you know, it is your foundation. So it feels like, well, yeah, I know that, our relationship is up and down and it feels like we're often on a roller coaster, but right. And then you justify and you validate all of the things that happen, the arguments, the conversations, the in and out, the up and down, you justify it because, well, that's kind of what it was like growing up. And yes, you are trying to get your life on a better track, but in a really weird, backwards kind of way, you justify it because it's what you know, right? And even though it's not what you want, it's what you know, and it's familiar, it's comfortable. So it's the cycle that you tend to be stuck in. So maybe you're the kind of person who continually attracts narcissists or people who are emotionally unavailable. And that is a sign, a reflection of things that are going on internally within you. So I'm going to break this down really quick. Let me get it pulled up. So I recently saw someone who broke down signs of childhood emotional neglect. The signs are there, they're spot on. I'm going to go over those. But then they said how to recover from it. And this is what we're going to debunk and break down. So signs of childhood emotional neglect. Like I said, if you have these signs, if you have these symptoms, if you resonate with these experiences, with these feelings, then there's a link and a correlation to emotional neglect from your past, from your upbringing, or from your childhood. These signs are you believe, and I really want you to tune in and listen to these keywords, because I'm going to debunk this later. You believe that your feelings don't matter. You may have a good friend or a therapist say to you, well, your feelings matter. Your feelings have the right to be validated and expressed. And you may go, yeah, I know. That's what they say, right? And I read the book and the book said that. But you believe your feelings don't matter. So link to that, connect to that. There's an internal belief Where is this belief inside of you? Well, it's in your unconscious mind, and it is connected to the core of who you are. You believe your feelings don't matter because of those past events and experiences. Here's another one. You can't trust how you feel. So you feel a certain way, but you can't trust that feeling. That's because when you were younger, you were forced to go against the feeling that you had. We're all born with divinely intuitive intuitions, but because we're young and we're dependent on people older than us, we're dependent on caregivers literally for our survival. When you're a little baby, you can't even hold a bottle yourself. You can't feed yourself. You can't clothe yourself. You can't go out and buy a home and get a car. Like you're dependent on caregivers, and you have feelings, but even before you learn language and learn to use words to express those feelings, you have feelings inside of you. You just don't know the words or the language to use to express them. So by the time you get to the place where you can express them, you often do. And then you get punished for expressing those feelings. And then you question yourself. Well, I felt angry and I expressed that I was angry, and then I got in trouble because I threw a tantrum, because I expressed anger. I got grounded, I got punished, I got smacked, whatever it is. So your unconscious mind begins to believe it's not safe to express your feelings. Expressing your feelings equals pain, will lead to punishment, will lead to rejection, will lead to disconnection. I want to be connected to this person, but I also want to express my feelings. But when I do, they punish me. So that's the internal dialogue that occurs. So a sign of childhood emotional neglect is you can't trust how you feel. So you've had so many moments and experiences of getting disconnected from those internal feelings that you now can't trust what you feel. You question it. You get this feeling and you go, hey, I don't know. No, I don't think that's right. I'm going to go this direction, or I'm going to ask that person what they think, and then I'm just going to go with what they think. So you can't trust how you feel because you become so separated from how you feel. You find it difficult to let people in. Well, that naturally makes sense because the people that you let in when you're a child are your parents, are your siblings, are your caregivers, are your teachers, are your friends. You let them in, and then you experience pain, inner pain, emotional pain, mental anguish when you let people in. So now you're older and you're an adult and you think it's not safe to let people in. Letting people in will hurt me. So if I keep some space between me and them, if I keep some distance and I don't let them in, or I let them partially in, if I have one foot in and one foot out, then I will be more safe. I won't get hurt. And that feels good to a point, right? But you find it really difficult to let people in because of the fear that you're going to have your heart broken, the fear that they're going to hurt you, or that you might hurt them, and you don't want that, because the mind, the way it's programmed, is to seek pleasure and avoid pain. And if there was pain in the past when you did let someone in and they hurt you, and the very OG original people that we let in are our parents, because they're our caregivers, because they're our providers. And if they hurt us, if there are emotional wounds and scars and things from our parents and from our upbringing that are still unprocessed and unhealed, that's going to affect and be projected on our adult relationships and friendships. So as an adult who's experienced childhood emotional neglect, you find it really difficult to let people in. The next sign is there's constant, and not just sometimes, but constant worry about what others think of you. So you're looking around and you're in a room or at a party or out at dinner and you hear someone laughing. And this could be someone who doesn't even know that you're there. This could be at a restaurant and this is laughter coming from a table across the room. And you hear this laughter and you're thinking, oh, are they laughing at me? Are they making fun of me? It's this shirt. I knew I shouldn't have worn this shirt. I hate this shirt. Why did I pick this one? I want to leave. What time is it? Oh my God, how much longer? How long have we been here? I just want to go. And it takes away from your ability to be present. Maybe you're there with a group of friends, maybe you're there with family, whoever you're there with, you're thinking about hearing that laughter from across the room and that they're talking badly about you, that they're judging you, that they're making fun of you, even though that is far more unlikely to be what's actually occurring. That's the story and the tape that's running in your mind. So you're constantly worry about what others think of you when you've experienced childhood emotional neglect. Another sign of it is you're not sure of who you are or what you want. You feel so disassociated, so disconnected from your true, genuine, authentic self. I recently had a client that I connected with, or that I brought on board to work one-to-one with me. And he said, when I was younger, I was alone a lot. I was left alone. I never really got any love or attention. My parents told me that they loved me, but I never felt that they loved me. They were always so busy working and just kind of like, here you go do this, and never really connected with me and never taught me how to connect with myself. So early on in childhood, I learned to be the funny one. I learned to be the good looking one. I took really good care of myself. I was pristine. I was dialed in, and I was really funny. And I really liked it for a time. But I realized that I had disassociated and disconnected from my real, true, genuine, authentic self and created this false persona and this false image of this person who was good looking, who was charming, who was confident, who could speak to anyone, and who was really funny and engaging. But I created that person. Here was the real me, and here's the person I created. And everyone, I mean, I had a lot of friends. This is what he said. I had a lot of friends. I was always invited to things, but it was like this person that I created was invited to things. And he identified that was this mask, this persona, and then felt like everyone in his world had connected with that person that he had created. And his real, true, genuine, authentic self was over here and wants to reconnect with that person. That's why we're working one-to-one together, because he said, I really want to connect to my core, my true self. And that is not this person that I had to create to connect. That's this person that's over here that I now feel so disconnected from. So that is a sign of childhood emotional neglect. You're not sure who you are or what you want. And I hear this all the time with people who connect with me. They say, I don't even know what I like. I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. And it feels so foreign to even fathom that. So that is a sign of childhood emotional neglect. Another sign is that you find yourself in abusive relationships or no relationships at all. So this is a big one. Childhood emotional neglect, there's a direct correlation to, it's linked to finding yourself in narcissistic, emotionally unavailable or emotionally abusive relationships. That is because you, like that example I just shared, become disconnected and disassociated with your real, true, genuine, authentic self. You feel like maybe you're floating above. You feel that you're not grounded. You feel that you're like just lost, kind of floating, so disconnected from everything, just going through life. And then you find yourself in relationships with abusive partners because someone who has the ability to abuse someone also is experiencing those same things. So you're a perfect match for each other. You've got the same soul pains. You've got the same inner unhealed emotional wounds. So you become energetically, emotionally, spiritually attracted to abusive people and narcissists, and find yourself in those types of relationships for that reason. Or you completely isolate, again, to avoid pain and experience pleasure. Connecting with people becomes too painful. So you pull away, you pull back, you isolate, you seclude yourself from society. I have many past clients who said that prior to coming to work together, that they cut off from society. They got off of all kinds of social media. They cut off their friendships. When people would reach out to them, they would not respond. They wouldn't reply back, or they would make plans with them and then they would cancel last minute, and they would lie. Even though they were available, they would come up with an excuse like they were sick or they had something else going on and they were really sorry. And they were sorry because they wanted to connect, but just they pulled away from all these kinds of relationships because they really were pulled away from the relationship with themselves. That's what's going on at the deeper level. So another sign of childhood emotional neglect is that you are a people pleaser. So this is kind of on the, a different space in the continuum. So you may find that your main goal and the only way that you're happy is if others are happy, and you're a people pleaser and you don't like arguments. And so you're the one that goes around and puts out everyone's fires, and you take on everyone else's fires as your own. And people come to you with their problems and they put them on you because you're so great. You always make yourself available, and you will always step in and do the work for them and not let them do it for themselves, because you want them to be happy and pleased with you. And it's like, come to you, because that's just, again, this source of connection. So when you're doing that, you're the people pleaser, and you're an overgiver, and people come to you and come to you and come to you. And even if you have this plate that's already so full and overflowing, you will say yes. You will step into that role and you will take that on, their problems. You will take them on as your own, and then you will go create the solution for them. And so for the person who has given you that task, easy peasy, right? All they have to do is give it to you. You'll say yes, you'll go put out the fire, and they can go on and do whatever they want to do, while you're left there doing all the work and like pulling all of their weight and your own and everyone else's. And so over time, this just feels exhausting. It feels draining. It's mentally, you get this mental anguish going on because you're just thinking, why? No one's helping me. How did my life get to this point? So that is a sign you become a people pleaser, because you're hoping that they'll be pleased with you. And with that pleasing, that you will have this really true loving connection. But you find that there's not an equal balance of giving and receiving, or giving and taking. It's just you giving, them taking. And before you know it, sooner rather than later, there's nothing more to give, because you feel empty inside. You don't have any more to give. And then that's what can lead to you pulling away from relationships and friendships. So another sign is that you easily get upset by what others think of you. Again, you're constantly ruminating, constantly thinking, what do they think of me? Or do they like me? Do they not like me? And even though you can have this incredible person standing in front of you, smiling, truly trying to connect with you, you're not connecting with them. Because in your mind, you are thinking, what are they thinking of me? Are they making fun of me? Are they looking at this gap that I have between my teeth? I bet you they are. I bet you they're thinking, and you're sitting there, you're so disengaged in the conversation, and then you find it awkward because they're trying to talk to you and you're like, uh, 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 and then you maybe create social anxiety, or you get an anxiety attack or panic attack, and you have to excuse yourself because you feel this red blushing coming on. You feel that your palms are sweaty. You feel like there's a lump in your throat. You feel like you can barely speak or barely get any words out because you don't even know what they said. And now you feel stupid responding because you weren't paying attention. And you have no idea what they just said. And you're looking at them like, oh my God, I probably look like such an idiot right now. I have to go to the bathroom. I'll be right back. And then you feel really uncomfortable and really awkward in social situations and social settings and amongst other people, because you've been in your head the whole time. You're easily upset by what others think about you, even if they tell you you're great and you're so wonderful and they love hanging out with you and spending time with you and being around you. You actually get upset by that, even though it sounds like a really nice thing to hear about yourself, but you get upset because you think that they're lying to you. You think there's no possible way they can like hanging out with me. I can't speak. I don't know what I'm saying. I am awkward. Why would they want to be around me? And so you think that they're lying to you when they're complimenting you. And so you you don't want to be around that person because you're like, well, they're a liar. But if they were to tell you the opposite, I don't like being around you, you're awkward, what's wrong with you? You would go, yeah, I know. So there's always this negative tape and loop running in your head and in your mind, and you can't seem to break out of that loop. So you get really upset by what other people think about you, whether they think positive things about you or whether they think negative things about you. You get upset easily and you fall into that really, that trap of negativity. And another sign of childhood emotional neglect is you struggle to know how you feel. So I want you to pick up on those keywords. You struggle to know how you feel. If someone asks you what's going on, how are you? And you really feel like this blank, like this blankness, just, I don't know. Are you happy? Yeah, sure. Are you upset? No, not really. Okay. And you're like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know becomes an answer that you go to a lot because you truly don't. You struggle to know how you feel. Again, that goes back to that earlier example that I shared with you. Here's where this gets, here's where this gets good. Okay. So I did see someone share how to recover from this. Like it's like, just do these things and then poof, you'll be magically recovered. Okay. And then their list was track and write down your feelings. Hold on. I thought you just said a sign of childhood emotional neglect is that you struggle to know how you feel. The next word of advice or piece of advice was describe your feelings, notice your needs. Here's the problem with that. How you can recover from it. If they're saying how you can recover from it is that you need to track and write down your feelings, you need to describe your feelings, you need to notice your needs. They're just saying that that is a result of experiencing childhood emotional neglect. You can't do those things. You're so disconnected and so disassociated from your ability to do those things because for however long, for decades, you were punished for doing those things. So now they're saying do those things and then you'll recover from it. And you're thinking, no wonder I can't recover from it because they're saying do these things. I can't do those things. So this is why I want you to be really cautious of the advice that you follow, because reading this advice or trying to follow this advice, you may go, well, okay, good idea. I'm going to track my feelings. I'm going to write them down. I'm going to notice my needs. I have no idea what my needs are. So if I have no idea what my needs are, how can I notice them? Right? Okay. And then it says practice self-care. Here is the thing. You do not believe that you are worthy of caring for yourself because you've been so programmed, your unconscious mind is so programmed to believe that you are unworthy, that you are helpless, that you are hopeless, that even if you do those things, it won't matter. It's not going to make a difference. It won't help you improve your quality of life. It's not going to do anything. So you get into this what's the point rut and this what's the point kind of funk. So practicing self-care, you may think, what, like get a massage? What does that mean? Because you don't feel and believe unconsciously and internally that you're worthy of being cared for because you weren't cared for. Maybe physically, but you weren't cared for emotionally if you grew up experiencing childhood emotional neglect, or even as an adult, you had toxic, narcissistic, emotionally unavailable relationships. You've never felt emotionally supported or cared for. So now someone's giving you advice. Well, emotionally care for yourself, practice self-care. That's not going to happen until you remove that unconscious programming that says you're not worthy of being cared for or caring for yourself, and replace it, reprogram it with a belief and an ingrained inner knowing that you are worthy of being cared for, that you are good enough, and that caring for yourself is beneficial and is helpful for you to have an optimal quality of life. So you can't just practice self-care. Oh yeah, no, I went to a yoga class. I did self-care. I'm good for the month. Yeah, it sucked. And I'm sharing that because that's what past clients have told me, that like, oh yeah, I tried to do self-care and so it's not that simple. It's not that easy. It begins with a belief. It begins with removing the toxic negative beliefs that were unconsciously internally programmed in your mind because of those past experiences, because of the result of childhood emotional neglect. And then the next how to recover from it is list what makes you feel nurtured. Again, you have no idea what makes you feel nurtured because you've never felt nurtured. You have to believe that you are worthy of being nurtured, that being nurtured makes a difference and will have a positive impact in the quality of your life, but it all starts with belief. So you can't just list what makes you feel nurtured, because you're going to be staring at a blank piece of paper. That's the problem. And then the other things that are listed are accept help and support from others. Again, you do not believe because you never received help from and support from others. So this is a difficult one. This is actually one that makes people who experience CEN or childhood emotional neglect, or people who've been in emotionally unavailable and abusive relationships, stuck in this rut, because it takes a lot. It takes a lot to accept what you're experiencing. It takes a lot to acknowledge. And those are the first things you need to do, is accept and acknowledge, right? They both start with A. So does the first letter of the English alphabet. And it's acceptance and acknowledgement that you need help, that you need support. But then accepting isn't always that easy, because you don't feel worthy and deserving of accepting, because you never have accepted, you never have received. Maybe when you were really, really young, but it felt like, oh, see, I helped you. And then there was an ulterior motive. I did this for you. Now you owe me. So you may feel scared to even put yourself out there, because you may feel like you then owe them something. And that feels uncomfortable, right? If we're keeping score, well, I did this for you. Now you owe me and you do this for me. And it's like, when are they going to kind of come and, ask for that back or whatever it is? So again, because your internal belief system is not one based on a foundation of believing that you're worthy of receiving support, or that it's safe to ask for help, because when you were younger and you asked for help, maybe you got mocked, you got ridiculed, you were made to believe that you were stupid because you needed help. And maybe it goes back to something as simple as like really struggling with math when you were in 3rd or 4th grade and asking the teacher for help, or asking your parents or an older sibling for help. And they sat there and tried to help you, and you were made to feel like you're an idiot. You don't get this. I get this. This is so easy for me. I just don't understand why you don't get it. And so now when you think about asking for help, your unconscious mind goes back to that. No, you're going to feel even more stupid if you ask for help. So don't say anything. Don't ask for help. So again, not as easy as this is how you recover from it. You just ask for help and accept it. Thanks. And then it goes on to say, set healthy boundaries. Okay. Again, if you never experienced or were modeled or taught how to set healthy boundaries, you literally do not know what a healthy boundary is. And if you don't know what it is, how can you set it? It's not a set it and forget it kind of thing like you see on the infomercials. Set it and forget it. You don't just set a boundary and then like, once you set it, no one's going to cross it. Especially emotional manipulators and abusers. They love boundaries because now they know exactly how to get to you. They know what they need to do and where they need to cross to trigger you. So how to recover from CEN, set healthy boundaries? Yes, but your boundaries have been crossed time and time and time and time and time again. And maybe you've tried to set them in the past. And again, because emotional manipulators and abusers love to cross boundaries, and you have not felt worthy of delivering the consequence for that boundary being crossed, you don't feel that it's possible or that you are capable of setting healthy boundaries. It's like, what's a healthy boundary? I didn't even know what a boundary is. What's the difference between a healthy one and an unhealthy one? And now you're telling me to set healthy boundaries and then I can recover from CEN? So again, this all is connected to an internal belief system, an internal belief structure, a foundation that was laid that is full of cracks, full of holes, that is crumbling, that is falling apart because of your past experiences, because of your upbringing, because of all the people in your life from your past who hurt you, who caused pain, who made you feel stupid, who you felt judged you and criticized you and belittled you. It's not that simple and that easy as just, this is how to recover from it. Boom, 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 boom. It's not a bullet point list. It takes reprogramming. It takes rewiring. It takes getting to the source, to the core, to the root at the unconscious level. That is where your entire like system and network of who you are is stored. I mean, if you look into like neuroscience, right? All of those, every time that you tell yourself, I'm stupid, why did I even try? Every time that phrase is repeated in your mind, I'm stupid, why did I even try? That neural pathway, that groove actually strengthens. And now it's like this super highway that anything happens, you fly down that super highway of, I'm so stupid, why did I even try? Why did I even think that that was possible? So it's reprogramming to not go down that highway anymore and to go down a different path. And that is the power of doing work at the unconscious level. That's the power of transformational healing, because that's the area that we're working in. We're not saying make a list and set healthy boundaries. We're working at the core and at the deep root of this to restructure, reprogram, rewire your internal belief system so that those things do become easy. But if you just try to do those on your own, they're going to feel impossible. They're going to feel extremely difficult. They're going to feel hard, and they're going to make you feel like that I'm giving up, right? I'm never going to change. I'm going to be stuck like this forever. It is what it is, right? And just think that that's just the crappy life that you have to have, but that's absolutely untrue. It takes working in the right realm, in the right area, and with the right part of your body, of your mind, so that they can all get into alignment to really amplify that belief system, so that's one of positivity and it's one of power, not one of disempowerment. That is the environment in which you were raised, but it doesn't have to be the ending of your life. You can rewrite your life. That's why my company is called Rewrite Your Life. That's for a reason. So if that is where you are in life and that's what you've gone through and that's what you've experienced and you are ready to take action, you're ready to change, you're ready to completely transform your life, then I would love to connect with you. We talk about my incredibly collective and powerful group program, or we can talk about that and working one-to-one together so that you are getting incredibly fast and rapid results and get your path, get you set on the right path in your life, especially if you've experienced childhood emotional neglect or find yourself in emotionally unavailable and emotionally neglectful relationships, the ones that you have with yourself and with others. So thank you. I hope this resonates. Please really be cautious of the advice that you follow out there. Oftentimes advice that's followed when you're not in the right mental state can perpetuate the problem and make you feel even worse about yourself. Not to mention that it can feel impossible, that it can feel like another thing that you failed at. My goal, if that's your goal, that is my goal for everyone that I connect and work with, is to get you incredibly powerful results as quickly as possible. You have lived with this for long enough and you don't deserve, and I imagine you don't desire to live with it any longer. So thank you for tuning in. I hope this resonates with you, and I hope that this is helpful for you into understanding a little bit more about childhood emotional neglect, maybe emotionally unavailable relationships. And again, please reach out and connect if that's what you're looking for, if you're ready for fast transformation.